Maverick to range control. Entering Point Alpha. Confirm green...
This wasn't just another fighter jet. In Top Gun, Maverick, the Darkstar looked like something pulled straight from the future. But here's the truth. What you saw wasn't entirely fiction. Behind that hypersonic monster lies a mix of real aerospace secrets, movie magic, and insane engineering choices. Number 20. The Darkstar was designed with input from real aerospace engineers. Here's where things get serious. The Darkstar in Top Gun. Maverick wasn't just a random futuristic design sketched by Hollywood artists. The production team collaborated with real aerospace engineers, including experts connected to advanced military aviation programs. This wasn't just about making something look cool, it was about making something believable at a level that would satisfy even professionals in the aerospace field. The design reflects principles seen in experimental hypersonic aircraft, including long, slender fuselage shapes optimized for extreme speeds and heat management. The nose profile, wing placement, and overall proportions were carefully considered to reflect what a real hypersonic jet might look like. Even the cockpit canopy was shaped to reduce drag and manage airflow at high speeds. These details are not accidental. They come from real-world research into vehicles designed to travel at speeds exceeding Mach 5. The collaboration reportedly went so deep that certain aspects of the design had to be adjusted to avoid getting too close to classified concepts. That tells you everything you need to know. The Darkstar sits in that fascinating space between fiction and reality. It's not a real aircraft, but it's built on real science. That's why it feels different from typical movie jets. It doesn't look like fantasy. It looks like something that could exist just a few years ahead of current technology. For audiences, this realism adds a layer of authenticity that elevates the entire opening sequence. You're not just watching a movie prop. You're watching a concept that feels dangerously close to real-world aerospace innovation. Number 19. The full-scale Darkstar mock-up fooled real military personnel.
Control, green range is confirmed. I don't see an event scheduled.
When the production team built the full-scale Darkstar mock-up, they weren't just creating something for the camera. They built a life-sized model with such precision and realism that it reportedly caught the attention of real military personnel. The aircraft was constructed with high levels of detail, including realistic panel lines, surface textures, and proportions that match plausible hypersonic designs. When placed on the runway during filming, it didn't look like a prop. It looked like a classified aircraft. According to reports, even experienced observers initially believed it could be a real experimental platform. This level of realism was intentional. The filmmakers wanted the Darkstar to feel authentic not just on screen, but in real life as well. The presence of the mock-up on an actual airfield added to the illusion. Combined with careful lighting and camera work, it became nearly indistinguishable from a real aircraft. This approach reflects a broader philosophy in Top Gun, Maverick. Instead of relying solely on digital effects, the production emphasized practical elements wherever possible. The result is a film that feels grounded, even when dealing with futuristic concepts. The fact that the Darkstar could momentarily fool professionals speaks volumes about the level of detail involved in its creation. Number 18, the cockpit scenes were filmed in a controlled set, not the actual mock-up.
Oh my god! Where the heck? Good morning, aviators. This is your captain speaking. Welcome.
While the exterior of the Darkstar looked incredibly realistic, the cockpit scenes were not filmed inside the full-scale model. Instead, the production used a separate cockpit set, designed specifically for filming. This decision was driven by practical considerations. Realistic aircraft cockpits are extremely confined spaces, making it difficult to position cameras and lighting equipment. To capture the necessary shots, the filmmakers built a cockpit set with removable panels and adjustable sections. This allowed them to place cameras at angles that would be impossible in a real aircraft. The set was carefully designed to match the exterior model, ensuring visual continuity between interior and exterior shots. Controls, displays, and instrumentation were all crafted to look authentic, even though they were part of a controlled filming environment. This approach gave the production team complete control over lighting and camera movement, which is essential for capturing detailed performance shots. It also allowed actors to focus on their performance without the constraints of a real cockpit. For viewers, the transition between interior and exterior feels seamless. The illusion holds because every detail is carefully aligned. Behind the scenes, however, the cockpit you see is a highly engineered set built for filmmaking rather than flight. Number 17. The Darkstar's speed sequence used a mix of practical and digital effects.
Increase to Mach 3.5. Size is dogfighting. Guns only, no missiles. We do not go below the
hypersonic flight sequence in Top Gun. Maverick is one of the most visually striking moments in the film. Achieving this required a combination of practical effects and advanced digital techniques. The production did not rely solely on computer-generated imagery. Instead, they combined real footage with digital enhancements to create a more convincing result. Practical elements included the use of real aircraft footage, cockpit vibrations, and physical reactions from the actor. Thus, elements grounded the scene in reality. Digital effects were then layered on top to simulate the extreme speeds associated with hypersonic travel. This included visual distortions, heat effects, and atmospheric interactions that would occur at such velocities. The goal was to create a sense of speed that felt believable rather than exaggerated. By blending practical and digital techniques, the filmmakers achieved a balance that enhanced realism. The audience experiences the intensity of hypersonic flight without it feeling artificial. This approach reflects a broader trend in modern filmmaking, where practical elements are used to anchor digital effects. The result is a more immersive experience that keeps viewers engaged. Number 16. The Darkstar's design avoids traditional fighter jet features on purpose.
What's your plan?
Let's put your mask on. Remember. Control, this is Darkstar. How do you read?
Ready lift engine start.
One of the most noticeable aspects of the Darkstar is how different it looks from conventional fighter jets. This is not a coincidence. The design intentionally avoids many of the features associated with standard military aircraft. Traditional fighter jets relies on large wings, vertical stabilizers, and external weapon mounts. The Darkstar, however, features a sleek, streamlined profile with minimal protrusions. This design reflects the requirements of hypersonic flight. At extreme speeds, aerodynamic drag and heat become major challenges. Reducing surface irregularities helps improve performance and stability. The absence of large vertical tails and external components gives the aircraft a cleaner shape, optimized for speed rather than maneuverability. This design philosophy aligns with real-world research into hypersonic vehicles, which prioritize efficiency at high speeds over traditional combat capabilities. The Darkstar is not designed for dogfighting. It is designed for speed and altitude. This distinction is important because it sets the aircraft apart from everything else in the film. It represents a different category of aviation technology, one focused on pushing the limits of speed rather than engaging in traditional aerial combat. For viewers, this makes the Darkstar feel unique and futuristic, even though its design is grounded in the real scientific principles. Number 15. The Darkstar's canopy design was influenced by real heat resistance research.
That's it, kid. That's it. All right, let's go.
At hypersonic speeds, one of the biggest challenges isn't just moving fast, it's surviving the heat. Air friction at speeds beyond Mach 5 can generate extreme temperatures, especially around leading edges and cockpit areas. The Darkstar's canopy design reflects this reality in a very subtle but deliberate way. Unlike traditional fighter jet canopies that are wide and bubble-shaped for visibility, the Darkstar uses a more angular, flattened canopy profile. This isn't just for aesthetics. It's about reducing heat exposure and managing airflow more efficiently at extreme velocities. The shape helps deflect high-temperature airflow away from critical areas, minimizing thermal stress. Real-world hypersonic concepts often explore similar canopy constraints, sometimes even considering reduced visibility in exchange for survivability. That's why the Darkstar cockpit appears more enclosed and less panoramic compared to aircraft like the F-18. There's also a visual cue in the tinting of the canopy. It appears darker and more reflective, hinting at specialized materials designed to withstand high temperatures and intense light conditions at altitude. While the film never explains this directly, the design language speaks volumes. It suggests a future where pilots operate in environments far more extreme than conventional flight. This attention to thermal realism is part of what makes the Darkstar feel authentic. It's not just about going fast, it's about surviving the consequences of that speed. The canopy becomes more than a window. It becomes a critical protective barrier between the pilot and the hostile physics of hypersonic travel. Number 14. The Darkstar's runway sequence used forced perspective to enhance scale.
Smoke in the air! Smoke in the air! Break right! Payback! Break right! Break it right!
When Maverick taxis and launches the Darkstar, the aircraft feels enormous, almost larger than any conventional jet. This sense of scale wasn't achieved purely through the physical model. The filmmakers used forced perspective techniques to amplify the aircraft's perceived size. By positioning the camera low to the ground and closer to the nose of the jet, they exaggerated its length and height. Objects in the foreground appeared larger, while the background receded dramatically, making the Darkstar dominate the frame. This technique has been used in filmmaking for decades, but in this case, it was applied with surgical precision. The runway itself was framed to appear narrower, making the aircraft seem even more imposing. Heat haze effects and lighting also contributed to the illusion. As the jet prepared for takeoff, shimmering air and subtle distortion made it feel heavier and more powerful. Even the pacing of the scene played a role. Slow taxi shots allowed the audience to absorb the scale before the rapid acceleration sequence. By the time the jet launches, the viewer already perceives it as something massive and unstoppable. This combination of camera placement, environmental effects, and editing created a sense of scale that went beyond the physical dimensions of the mock-up. It's a perfect example of how cinematography can transform a prop into something far more imposing than it actually is. Number 13, the Darkstar's engine sound was entirely fictional, but based on real physics.
Dagger 2 defending!
The sound of the Darkstar is one of its most memorable features. It doesn't sound like a typical jet. It has a deeper, more futuristic tone that immediately sets it apart. Interestingly, the sound is not based on any existing aircraft engine. Instead, sound designers created it from scratch, guided by what a hypersonic propulsion system might theoretically sound like. At such extreme speeds, traditional jet engine acoustics changed dramatically. The production team layered multiple sound elements, including modified jet recordings, rocket engine sounds, and synthesized tones. The goal was to create something that felt grounded in reality, while still sounding advanced and unfamiliar. Low-frequency vibrations were emphasized to convey immense power, while higher-frequency elements suggested speed and intensity. The result is a sound that feels both mechanical and almost otherworldly. It's not just noise. It's part of the storytelling. When the Darkstar accelerates, the sound builds in a way that mirrors the increasing stress on the aircraft. It creates tension, signaling that the machine is pushing its limits. This audio design helps sell the idea that the Darkstar operates in a completely different regime than conventional aircraft. Even though the sound is fictional, it is rooted in scientific reasoning, which makes it feel believable. For the audience, the sound becomes an emotional cue as much as a technical detail. Number 12, the Darkstar's destruction sequence required careful blending of scale models and digital effects.
No!
The moment when the Darkstar reaches its limits and ultimately fails is one of the most dramatic sequences in the film. Creating this scene required a combination of practical miniature models and advanced digital effects. Full-scale destruction of the mock-up was not practical or cost-effective, so the filmmakers turned to scale models for certain shots. These models were designed with incredible detail, replicating the surface features of the full-size aircraft. Controlled explosions were then performed on these miniatures to capture realistic debris and fragmentation. These practical effects were combined with digital simulations to enhance the scale and complexity of the destruction. The fire, smoke, and atmospheric effects were added in post-production to create a seamless transition between real and digital elements. The challenge was maintaining consistency. Every piece of debris, every burst of flame, had to match the physics established earlier in the film. The result is a destruction sequence that feels both grounded and spectacular. It avoids the overly artificial look that pure digital effects can sometimes produce. By blending practical and digital techniques, the filmmakers achieved a level of realism that enhances the emotional impact of the scene. The destruction of the Darkstar doesn't just look impressive, it feels believable. Number 11. The Darkstar represents a shift from dogfighting to speed dominance in aviation storytelling. One of the most important aspects of the Darkstar is what it represents in the context of aviation. Traditional fighter jets are designed for maneuverability and combat. They engage in dogfights, relying on agility and weapon systems to defeat opponents. The Darkstar, however, represents a completely different philosophy. It is not about turning or engaging. It is about outrunning everything. This shift reflects real-world trends in aerospace development, where speed and altitude are becoming increasingly important. Hypersonic vehicles are designed to travel so fast that interception becomes nearly impossible. In Top Gun, Maverick, the Darkstar embodies this concept. It is a machine built to push boundaries, not to fight in conventional ways. This changes how the audience perceives aviation. The focus moves from combat tactics to technological achievement. The opening sequence emphasizes this shift. Instead of a dogfight, we see a test flight pushing the limits of speed. The tension comes from the risk of failure rather than enemy engagement. This represents an evolution in how aviation stories are told. The Darkstar is not just a new aircraft. It is a new idea. It shows that the future of flight may not be about fighting harder, but about moving faster than ever before. Number 10. The Darkstar's cockpit instrumentation was designed to look futuristic, but still pilot-readable.
Special fuel JP7 that was developed just for the SR-71. So Keith,
when you look inside the Darkstar's cockpit, something feels different immediately. It doesn't resemble the dense, cluttered dashboards of modern fighter jets filled with dozens of switches and analog backups. Instead, the instrumentation appears streamlined, minimal, and highly digital. But here's the key detail most people miss. It wasn't designed randomly. The cockpit interface was carefully created to look futuristic, while still being believable to real pilots. Aviation experts understand that at hypersonic speeds, pilot workload becomes critical. There is no time to scan dozens of gauges or interpret complex layouts. Information must be delivered clearly, quickly, and with minimal distraction. The Darkstar's cockpit reflects this principle. Large digital displays present essential data in simplified formats. Critical information like speed, altitude, and system status is likely integrated into a unified interface rather than scattered across multiple instruments. Even the color choices and layout hint at real-world human-machine interface design, trends used in advanced aircraft. The goal is to reduce cognitive load, allowing the pilot to focus on decision-making rather than interpretation. At extreme speeds, even a small delay in understanding data can have catastrophic consequences. The production designers worked to ensure that every screen looked functional, not just visually impressive. This is why the cockpit feels authentic. It doesn't overwhelm the viewer with meaningless graphics. It suggests a system built for survival at the edge of physics. For audiences, the result is subtle but powerful. You believe the pilot could actually operate this machine. That belief adds weight to every moment inside the cockpit, especially as the aircraft pushes beyond its limits. Number 9. The Darkstar's black finish was chosen for both aesthetics and thermal storytelling.
SR-71, and we've been advancing. In fact, in the 2010 timeframe,
technical boundaries applied.
At first glance, the Darkstar's matte black finish looks like a stylistic choice. It gives the aircraft a stealthy, futuristic appearance that immediately stands out. But there's a deeper layer to this decision. The color also reflects the thermal realities of hypersonic flight. At extreme speeds, the surface of an aircraft can heat up to extraordinary temperatures due to air friction. In real-world aerospace research, materials and coatings are often selected based on how they handle heat absorption and radiation. While the Darkstar is not a real aircraft, its design subtly hints at these considerations. The dark finish suggests heat-resistant materials or coatings designed to manage thermal stress. It visually communicates that this machine operates in an environment far beyond conventional flight. The métis texture also reduces glare, which is important for both visual clarity and cinematic presentation. Under bright sunlight, reflective surfaces can create harsh highlights that distract from the design. The matte black finish absorbs light, emphasizing the aircraft's shape and contours instead. This makes the Darkstar look more solid and grounded, even as it represents cutting-edge technology. The color choice also plays into storytelling. It makes the aircraft feel more serious, more experimental, almost secretive. It doesn't look like a polished production aircraft. It looks like something built in isolation, tested at the edge of what's possible. For viewers, this adds to the mystique. The Darkstar feels like a machine that exists in a classified world, hidden from public view. Number 8, the Darkstar's takeoff sequence exaggerates runway length to emphasize speed.
Who the hell is that?
Maverick to
One last ride.
When Maverick prepares for takeoff, the runway seems to stretch endlessly ahead of him. This isn't just a visual coincidence. The filmmakers deliberately manipulated the perception of runway length to enhance the sense of speed and scale. In reality, the physical runway used for filming has a fixed length. But through camera placement, lens choice, and editing, the scene creates the impression of a much longer distance. Telephoto lenses compress space, making the runway appear extended, while keeping the aircraft visually dominant. As the Darkstar accelerates, quick cuts between cockpit shots and exterior views create a rhythm that builds tension. The audience feels the aircraft gaining speed over an extended distance, even though the actual footage may cover a shorter span. Environmental effects also contribute to this illusion. Heat haze, dust, and motion blur make the runway appear to rush past faster than it actually does. This combination of techniques transforms a standard takeoff into something far more dramatic. It makes the viewer feel the strain of reaching hypersonic speeds. The runway becomes a visual representation of the challenge ahead. It's not just a surface, it's a pathway to breaking physical limits. By the time the aircraft leaves the ground, the audience has already experienced the buildup of speed and tension. This makes the transition to flight feel earned and impactful. Number 7. The Darkstar's nose design reflects real hypersonic airflow challenges.
Show its technological advancements in front of the whole world until it's too late for anyone to do.
One of the most distinctive features of the Darkstar is its sharply elongated nose. This isn't just a design flourish, it reflects real aerodynamic challenges associated with hypersonic flight. At extremely high speeds, airflow behaves differently than it does at lower velocities. Shock waves form around the aircraft, and managing these shock waves becomes critical for stability and efficiency. A long, pointed nose helps control how air is compressed and redirected as the aircraft moves forward. It reduces drag and minimizes the intensity of shock waves interacting with the rest of the vehicle. This design principle can be seen in experimental hypersonic concepts, where elongated shapes are used to manage airflow more effectively. The Darkstar's nose also contributes to thermal management. By spreading out the impact of air at the front of the aircraft, it reduces localized heating, which can be a major issue at high speeds. Visually, the nose gives the aircraft a sleek, aggressive profile that immediately communicates speed. It looks like a machine designed to cut through the atmosphere rather than move within it. This detail reinforces the idea that the Darkstar operates in a different regime than conventional jets. It's not just flying, it's pushing through the limits of air itself. For viewers, the design feels intuitive, even if they don't understand the physics behind it. Number 6. The Darkstar sequence was intentionally placed at the beginning to set the film's technological stakes.
What is it?
The decision to introduce the Darkstar at the very beginning of Top Gun, Maverick, was not accidental. It serves a specific narrative purpose. Before the audience sees traditional fighter jets or familiar dogfighting sequences, they are introduced to something entirely new. This establishes the technological stakes of the story immediately. The Darkstar represents the cutting edge of aviation, pushing beyond what current aircraft can achieve. By starting with this sequence, the film signals that it is not just revisiting the past, it is exploring the future. This contrast becomes important as the story progresses. The Darkstar is ultimately replaced by more conventional aircraft, highlighting the difference between experimental technology and practical combat systems. The opening sequence also sets the tone. It shows that speed, risk, and innovation are central themes of the film. Maverick's willingness to push the limits of the Darkstar reflects his character. He is not just a pilot, he is a test pilot, someone who operates at the edge of possibility. This introduction makes the audience understand his mindset before the main story begins. It also raises expectations. If the film starts with something this extreme, the audience anticipates even greater challenges ahead. The Darkstar sequence becomes a benchmark for everything that follows. Number 5. The Darkstar's pilot suit was subtly different to reflect hypersonic flight conditions. If you look closely at Maverick's gear during the Darkstar sequence, something feels slightly different compared to standard flight suits seen elsewhere in the film. This wasn't accidental. The costume designers made subtle adjustments to suggest that hypersonic flight requires a different kind of pilot equipment. At extreme speeds and altitudes, the environment inside and outside the aircraft changes dramatically. Pressure, temperature, and G-forces all reach levels far beyond conventional flight. While the film doesn't explicitly explain these differences, the suit hints at them through design choices. The material appears more reinforced, with a sleeker, tighter fit that suggests pressure resistance. The helmet design also looks more enclosed and advanced, implying enhanced protection and communication systems. Even the color palette is slightly more technical and subdued, aligning with the experimental nature of the aircraft. These details help sell the idea that Maverick is not just flying another jet, he is operating in a completely different regime of aviation. The suit becomes part of the storytelling, reinforcing the uniqueness of the Darkstar program. It visually separates this sequence from the rest of the film, where more traditional flight gear is used. For viewers, the difference may not be immediately obvious, but it contributes to the overall sense that the Darkstar exists in a different category of technology. Number 4. The Darkstar's hangar environment was designed to feel isolated and classified. The setting where the Darkstar is housed plays a crucial role in how the aircraft is perceived. Unlike the busy open environments seen with conventional jets, the Darkstar is kept in a more isolated and controlled space. The hangar design reflects a classified program, something not meant for public view or routine operations. The architecture is clean, minimal, and almost sterile, emphasizing precision and secrecy. Lighting is carefully controlled, with strong contrasts that highlight the aircraft while keeping the surroundings subdued. This creates a sense of focus, drawing attention directly to the Darkstar as the centerpiece. The lack of clutter reinforces the idea that this is a specialized facility, not a standard military base. Even the way personnel move within the space suggests a controlled environment, where every action is deliberate. This setting helps establish the tone of the sequence. It tells the audience that what they are about to see is not ordinary, it's experimental, possibly even dangerous. The isolation also adds to the narrative tension. Maverick is not surrounded by a large support team. He is operating within a program that feels exclusive and high risk. The hangar becomes more than just a location. It becomes part of the storytelling, shaping how the audience perceives the Darkstar and its purpose. Number 3. The Darkstar's failure sequence mirrors real test flight risks. When the Darkstar pushes beyond its limits, the film captures a moment that reflects real-world test flight risks. Experimental aircraft are designed to explore boundaries, but those boundaries come with uncertainty. In real aerospace testing, pushing an aircraft beyond its intended limits can lead to structural failure, loss of control, or system breakdown. The film mirrors this reality in a way that feels grounded rather than exaggerated. As the Darkstar accelerates, subtle cues indicate increasing stress. The cockpit vibrations intensify, warning systems activate, and the overall tone shifts from controlled testing to escalating danger. This progression reflects how real test pilots experience failure scenarios. It's not an instant event. It builds gradually as systems are pushed beyond safe parameters. The decision to continue or abort becomes critical. Maverick's choice to push further aligns with the mindset of test pilots who operate at the edge of possibility. The eventual failure of the aircraft reinforces the risks involved in advancing technology. It shows that progress often comes with setbacks and consequences. For viewers, this sequence adds emotional weight to the spectacle. It's not just about speed, it's about the cost of pushing limits. The realism of this moment helps ground the entire Darkstar storyline. Number 2, the Darkstar's concept reflects real competition in hypersonic development.
Cabin pressure looks good.
Control concurs.
Towers is Darkstar, we're ready for takeoff, requesting windshield hot caution.
Although the Darkstar is fictional, its existence in the film reflects a very real competition happening in the world of aerospace. Multiple nations are actively researching and developing hypersonic technologies, aiming to achieve speeds far beyond traditional aircraft. These efforts are driven by both military and scientific goals, including faster travel, advanced reconnaissance, and new forms of propulsion. The Darkstar captures this global race in a simplified form. It represents a program pushing to achieve what is still largely experimental in reality. The secrecy surrounding the aircraft in the film mirrors the classified nature of real hypersonic projects. Details about these programs are often limited, with only general information available to the public. By incorporating this concept into the story, the film connects its fictional narrative to real-world developments. This adds a layer of authenticity that goes beyond visual design. The Darkstar feels like something that could exist because similar efforts are already underway. For audiences, this connection makes the aircraft more compelling. It's not just a product of imagination, it's a reflection of ongoing technological ambition. Number 1, the Darkstar redefined how aviation technology is portrayed in modern films.
Rooster, 2 more on your 6! Dagger 2 defending!
The Darkstar represents a shift in how advanced aircraft are depicted in cinema. In earlier films, futuristic jets often leaned heavily into fantasy, with exaggerated designs and unrealistic capabilities. The Darkstar takes a different approach. It combines scientific plausibility with cinematic storytelling, creating something that feels both advanced and believable. This approach reflects a broader trend in filmmaking, where audiences expect a higher level of realism, even in fictional concepts. The success of the Darkstar sequence demonstrates that viewers respond to designs grounded in real-world principles. It also sets a new standard for how aviation technology can be portrayed. Instead of relying solely on visual spectacle, filmmakers are now integrating research and expert input into their designs. This results in vehicles that feel more authentic and engaging. The Darkstar becomes more than just a prop. It becomes a character in its own right, representing innovation, risk, and the pursuit of progress. Its impact extends beyond the film, influencing how future projects may approach similar concepts. For audiences, it offers a glimpse into what the future of flight might look like, grounded in reality rather than pure imagination. The Darkstar isn't just one of the most unforgettable machines in Top Gun, Maverick. It's a perfect blend of science, storytelling, and cinematic illusion. Every detail, from its shape to its sound, was carefully crafted to feel real while pushing the boundaries of what audiences expect. What makes it truly fascinating is how close it sits to reality. It's not just fiction. It's a glimpse into what aviation could become. And that's why the Darkstar works so well. It doesn't just fly fast, it makes you believe the future is already taking off.